Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing the Mercedes-Benz EQE 500. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. The EQE 500 has a 90.6 kilowatt hour battery pack that is paired to a dual electric motor setup. Total system output is 402 horsepower and then 633 pound-feet of torque, with EPA range being stated at 269 miles, and I can tell you that is extremely inaccurate. I'll show you guys a little bit later. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see the lines there on either side, which is kind of like a distinctive Mercedes design cue. And then coming down below, this is where things get a little bit more new age. So you guys can see the daytime running lights and look at the overall shape of the headlight bezel. Then you guys can see it creates this light bar effect. Got a giant Mercedes-Benz logo. Everything's closed off here, but we have a bunch of stars there on the front, a bunch of little Mercedes-Benz logos, which is pretty cool. And then parking sensors here along the bottom. And the reason why the EQE is designed the way that it is to maximize aerodynamic efficiency. That's why it's so smooth looking. Coming around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 255, 45, 20 in the front and over in the rear. And the wheels obviously are designed the way that they are to maximize aerodynamic efficiency. They definitely look strange though, I will say. Now here's a quick look at the fender flares, and that bodywork continues along the side. You do have some silver trim there. Pop-out door handles, obviously, again, aerodynamic efficiency. And then you guys can see the trim around the windows, EQE right there. And by the way, this does have rear steer. And here is your full side view with the EQE. Again, definitely an interesting design. So here's a quick look at our key fob. We've got our unlock, lock function, and then the opening here for the hatch, and yeah, just normal Mercedes key. And now popping into the cargo area, you guys can see we have a cargo cover built in from the factory. You got a little charging bag here as well. And when it comes to overall space, I mean, for this size of crossover, it's really good. And then you guys can see here with a little leg thing. I don't use that personally though. I just do the button because I'm old fashioned. And then here's a quick look at the taillights again, light bar life. And then by the way, this is pretty cool how you open up the hatch. I don't know, I think that's kind of a fun feature, but anyways, I guess we gotta close it again. Anyways, there are parking sensors here on the rear, and then they kind of make that trim look like there's gonna be exhaust tips, but there aren't. Wrapping things up, let me know you guys think about the overall style, but I can tell you this is definitely function over form, that is for sure. Now, taking a look at the door panel here in the rear, I actually really like this trim at the top. Then you guys can see down below two-tone with the coloration, and then this also looks really cool as well. And by the way, the sound system in this, it's really good. And then here are the seats that look fantastic and are very comfortable in normal Mercedes fashion. Legroom back here is really good, and you guys can see we've got blue floor mats, which is actually really cool. I dig it. You got a little storage pocket here, some vents for the rear passengers. Of course, we have our little armrests set up right here, and I do like the texturing on this. By the way, it does hold up well over time, I know that. And then, last but not least, headroom's good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see again with the two-tone design, and then we've got all of our adjustments here on the side, heated seat function, memory seat function, all of our window controls, mirror adjustments, they do power fold in, and they've got blind spot monitoring. And then here are the front seats, and it's pretty interesting with the design how they're all perforated. And then you do have your lumbar adjustment there on the side, and then light controls, and then I love this here with all the stars, and then also the vent, and then you guys can kind of see the ambient lighting, really cool. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, really cool with the overall design, and then it's also super practical. So we've got paddles in the back for the regen to make it more or less aggressive, controls for the infotainment system, and then volume voice command controls, controls for the cruise control system, and then also controls there for the center stack. And then you guys can see regular stock there in the back for the turn signal, and then we've got our column shifter. So here is the gauge cluster, and you guys can see the EPA's big fat lie. So this is with real world testing. You guys can see if I don't use the climate controls, I get almost 400 miles of range. If I do use the climate controls, mid 300s. How the heck did the EPA get an estimated range amount of under 300 miles? I feel like Tesla and Rivian have relatively accurate range amounts, or sometimes the EPA overestimates theirs, but for every other automaker, it seems like the EPA heavily underestimates it. Tinfoil hat. Anyways, as for the rest of the gauge cluster, it's Mercedes, you know, modern unit, so it responds really well. You can kind of change like the overall theme with it as well. And you can obviously do like a big navigation screen. You can do like an off-road view, all that kind of stuff. So overall, really cool customizable gauge cluster. Now we do also have a 360 camera system, trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. And by the way, parking this is so easy with that rear steer. It really does help out. And you know, this camera system overall responds really well. And you know, it's Mercedes modern unit, so it's a good system. And then as for the resting infotainment system, this is similar to what you have in like the new S-Class. So you've got some buttons down below for like the drive mode select. So for example, I can press that and then that'll go through the different drive modes. I've honestly just had it in comfort for most of the time. There is an off-road mode. I don't think anyone would actually take this off-road, but they do have it there. Aside from that, response time with the screen's really good. It's relatively easy to use overall. So I'd say this whole setup, it looks good and it's easy. So you guys can see the blue on the dash and look at the ambient lighting. And I mean, look at this. This is like one of the most beautiful interior designs ever. So yeah, really cool there. Got some cup holder action. This is pretty cool. So you like click it to get the cups things out. I don't know, I think it's kind of fun. And then you guys can see with the wireless phone charging pad. And then we got a center console, pretty normal, like the trim here. And then we've got the glove box. Just press that little button right there and then that will open that thing up. And then up top we get our controls here for the sunroof, full panoramic sunroof, and then lighter colored headliner. So here's the window sticker for this EQE. You guys can hopefully see the standard equipment. It's always hard with these phone window stickers. Anyways, total MSRP is just under $100,000. It's $98,040. And if you don't believe me, look at that, EPA, 269 miles on a single charge. Again, this doesn't add up. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, do blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And with that being said, let's set off. Okay, so we are setting off in the EQE 500. I've had this as a tester for the week, and I've got some strong opinions. Obviously, I talked kind of about the range thing. I do want to kind of extrapolate on that a little bit. I also made like a little YouTube short for that as well, for those of you that have a 2-second attention span. But anyways, we'll get into that at the end of the driving portion. First off, when it comes to how this car drives, it is absolutely fantastic. And this is coming from someone who's a huge car enthusiast. Again, I own a V8 Wrangler and a GT350 Mustang. Like, I feel like I am like the description of, like, you know, ICE enthusiasts, right? I've got a bunch of V8 powered vehicles, manual transmissions, all that kind of stuff, and I still really appreciate how this drives. So first off, ride quality, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, being an electric car, acceleration's really good. I like the sounds this makes. It's actually really fun. I don't know, it kind of feels like a spaceship in a way. And then, you know, it's a really good vehicle overall. Like, on the highway, super comfortable. You can basically just do the self-driving stuff, so like the adaptive cruise control and all that, and it'll just drive itself for the most part. I will say it does have this annoying feature where it'll basically try to, it sounds good on the surface, it'll try to optimize your drive in terms of efficiency with time and all of that, and so it'll decide to like randomly change lanes, but like it's like super quick, and you can make it so it doesn't do it, because like if it's trying to change lanes and then you kind of like jiggle the steering wheel a little bit or press on the brakes, then it'll stop. But it's kind of jarring, because like sometimes you're just driving down the highway and then all of a sudden you see like turn signals on and it's like, I'm changing lanes, and it's like, no you're not. So that thing, I will say, is a little bit weird, but I mean, it's kind of the world we're going into with more self-driving. And then on the EV side of things, this has been the best experience I have personally had with an EV for a few reasons. So first off, it seems like the charging network has improved slightly here in Utah, and so being able to charge this car while I'm on the go has been easier. And then on top of that, the fact that this does not get 269 miles of range and actually gets closer to 400 miles of range, it has enough range, enough range on a single charge that I'm able to do all my daily driving and not have to, like, I have had zero range anxiety with this car. This is the first EV that I've tested where I've had zero range anxiety. So I think that 400 number is kind of like the sweet spot to where it's enough range. And also, this doesn't have a huge battery pack. Again, 90.6 kilowatt hour battery pack. So like, between the charging that I'll do when I'm out at dealerships and then also at home, I don't have upgraded outlets. I've got, you know, base outlets, so don't have anything there. I'm able to keep it up to close to 100%. So overall, as an EV, this is the best EV that I have ever tested. But it is also, you know, it's like $100,000, so it's like, I hope it's good. And then the thing that I am annoyed with this car is just the looks. Like, it's crazy. This has such a beautiful interior. It drives it, like, this is, in my opinion, you know, for like a commuter luxury type vehicle, it's the best ever that I've tested. But then it's so ugly on the outside. Like, why did I understand Mercedes went for, again, they went for function over form, but like, they shouldn't have done that. It's hideous on the outside, but it's such a good, that's the thing that's frustrating about this car is like, I feel like compared to Tesla, it's just blows any Tesla out of the water, in my opinion, from like what I've experienced with this. But then it's like, even Teslas look better than this, and Teslas are hideous. So there's that. And then, yeah, on the range thing, like, that's super sus to me, because it's just so weird that I've tested so many electric cars, and whenever I get an electric car that's made by an American automaker, it's like the EPA range is about what I'll get. So like, for example, if I get a Ford Mustang Mach-E and it says it gets 315 miles of range, it's gonna get 315 miles of range. But then anytime that I get a foreign electric car, it doesn't matter what it is, Genesis, Mercedes, BMW, it always states that they're somewhere in the 200-mile range, what the EPA states, and then they're always getting like the BMW, what was it, the i4 I had, it stated it had 220 miles of range. My testing showed it had 300 miles of range. This says it has 269 miles of range. My testing has shown that it gets over 360 miles of range while using climate controls. So like, that super suspect. Like, why is there a discrepancy between American and non-American automakers, and why is there a discrepancy regardless? Like, I could understand if the EPA range on this was like 340 miles and I'm getting 360. It's like, oh, I'm just driving more efficiently. But like, when there is over 100-mile difference, that is like super suspect. Anyways, let me know, guys, what you think about the EQE. I think this is the best EV that I've ever tested. I just am not a fan of the looks.